Okay, so this is yet another in the series of unpacking the mental prison. It's quite critical to keep going over this and seeing it from multiple perspectives because the programming is so deep that it's not going to come undone the first, second, third, fourth. It needs to be shown over and over again. So that's why I'm making this series, because if it isn't repeated and the understanding, you cannot reorganize the data that sits inside your inner knowings in a way that's coherent. Because what's happened is it's been formulated in the sense of a distortion of a lie, and then an attachment has been made because of safety. So safety promotes people to want to accept a lie. If they know their safety depends on the lie, then they will attach to it. And so this is about learning how to detach through multiple exposure. So that's why this is happening. It's critical. And if you have the will to stay with it and really allow yourself to sink in to the truth as it is, how it is, not how you've been trained to perceive it, then there'll be some value here. And as you can see by the statement here in the top corner, it's pretty obvious that this is about being able to unpack the mental prison of the lies we've been told that police are meant to be our protectors, versus to the reality of what we see them do with our eyes every single day. And I'm going to show you how that actually looks, right, of what they really are, and that is predatory pirates for their political parasites. It's a lot of P's, I know. So without any further ado, I'm going to move on to the first part, and Larkin's going to explain it, because he's obviously done a lot of work on this. So instead of me rewriting the reinventing the wheel, so to speak, I'd rather just let Larkin do it.
The people who are going to say, what are you talking about? Government is violence. Well, what does government do if you drive your car on the road without having the right little sticker on the back? Well, a cop might pull me over. Well, what does that mean? He pulls you over. He pulls you over. Well, no, he drives behind me and turns his lights on. Okay, so the flashy lights. What do the flashy lights mean? Does it mean, hey, buddy, if you got a minute, can I talk to you? Is that what those lights mean? Or does it mean, pull over, or I'm going to get lots more of my fellow gang members, and we're going to make you pull over, and we're probably going to beat the crap out of you, and then we're going to take you and put you in a cage. Those lights, the flashing red and blue lights, are a threat of violence. Every single time they turn them on, they are threatening somebody with violence. If you don't have the right sticker on your car and they turn that on, they're not asking nicely. They're not requesting that you pull over. They're saying, you're going to pull over, or we're going to get lots more of us, and we will violently detain you and cage you for not pulling over. Now, to a lot of people, to the well-trained statist, the flashing lights, they don't even think of that as violence, because they think, oh, I guess I have to pull over because that's what you have to do. Well, why is that what you have to do?
So right there is a perfect explanation of the belief that violence is justified if you believe it's done for your safety. So you will actually bow to someone who is violent if you believe that it will come and serve you somewhere down the track, that same violence. This is the mental prison. And it's about unpacking that and really understanding it for what it is. That those two things cannot be harmonized. It's not possible to use violence for safety. The only way that's happened, and I'll re-qualify that, is if it's a protective form of force. But violence as in an understanding of initiating through the need to dominate and control someone, where there's no justification for that. That's what I'm meaning by violence. I just wanted to qualify what I meant. And that's what police do. That is their job. That is the kind of personality that will be attracted to that position, is someone who's already inclined that way. Because if they were correct in their position as public servants, they would be in fear of the people, because they would know they'd be accountable to the people. So any of those weapons that they carry would not be done with impunity. It would be done with great responsibility. But because that's never been the case from I don't know how long, right? That's the kind of personality you're going to attract, is someone that knows just by seeing with their own eyes what actually happens, even though it's never said, right? They're going to be attracted to that position. So this is what this is truly about, is seeing the truth for how it is, how you witness it in your day life, what your intelligence tells you that swims around in your body, right? We call it intuition, we call it gut instinct, there's all different versions for it. That's all that disorganized data that's giving you information as to the truth. It's whether you can actually use your intellect to actually make coherence out of that disorganized data. That's the purpose of these videos. So I'm going to carry on with Larkin now.
Because the law and authority and stuff. And what happens if you don't? Well, if you don't pull over and do what the police says, then you deserve whatever. I mean, you can hear a bunch of people who believe in government say that. They 100% blame the victim, to the point that they don't even describe it as violence. Oh, look at that guy getting hit with clubs by the people with badges. It's not that the police are violent, it's that that guy made them do that by disobeying. That is the mind of somebody who is enslaved, who is mentally enslaved, not to mention physically.
Okay, so this is what, if you've ever heard me say things about mental illnesses and you've seen me post it, this is what is actually meant by that. Because a well mind would be able to see reality for how it actually is, that's discoverable by all on a neutral footing. This is not discoverable by all, because there's no consensus based on neutral ground. It's all just people's contorted ways of seeing the world based on a fear of what will happen if they don't comply. Right? So they create stories. And when it's done on the mass scale, that's what gets accepted as truth. But in reality, a lie no longer, I'll say that again. A lie does not cease to be a lie just because the majority share in it. That's the true nature of reality. So we're going to move on. So now you're going to see what's just been said in real action, right? You're going to see the lights, the whole thing. Here it comes.
And there's that same cop that was falling. Oh, and you get with his life. You guys got your seatbelts on, right? Yeah. Okay.
So, having been threatened with violence, the driver immediately pulls over and waits to be harassed by the predator. Now, so far, do you even have a guess as to why the hell he was pulled over? Listen.
So just giving you some heads up, guys. The cop's voice is really soft, so you're going to need to turn the volume up when if you want to hear what he's saying.
You just dropped somebody off over there?
No, I'm picking somebody up.
Oh, okay. They were trying to get away from me at first. I thought you knew I was behind you and then you pulled off.
Time.
So you see the officer said he thought he was trying to get away from him. Like, they invent this idea. When you're power happy, when you get into this position, you actually start believing that you have the entitlement, that people must bow to you no matter what reason you have for stopping them. They immediately must bow. Like, that's outright slavery right there. And he just said it. He said, I thought. So he's now using his thoughts, like his beliefs, his perceptions, as absolute truths. Why? Because he can. The reason why he can is because there's no one there to challenge it. The whole structure is set up to, feed that insanity. And because it's not challenged, then it's just accepted as, well, I can do it, so that means that I'm justified. And this is the sickness, right? If we as the people don't stand up against it and start showing these people who are, obviously suffering these mental illnesses, that they are mentally ill, they'll just carry on. That's the point. This is where we are required to step in our power as individuals who know truth. And if we don't support it, then we are supporting the lie. We are supporting our own slavery. So let's listen to Larkin's commentary.
Time out. First of all, it's not illegal to try to avoid the frickin' cops. In fact, I highly recommend it for the same reason I recommend trying to avoid rabid dogs and other mentally deranged, dangerous animals. But so far, without giving any indication of why he has any right to butt into this guy's life and threaten him with violence in the first place, this piggy is already complaining that it looked like the guy was trying to avoid him, which, by the way, he wasn't.
Yeah, I say turn around and come around that corner there by the sheriff's station.
Are you working right now?
Yeah.
Okay. What's your name?
What's your name?
Okay, hey, originally over there, I saw you didn't signal, okay, all the
Oh.
way. That's why it kind of caught my eye. I left that side, okay?
Okay.
If I'm asking you for your name, because I'm kind of doing just a courteous stop.
Okay.
But if you want me to make a big deal about it,
No.
I can put it on a citation.
You hear that? There's the power trip right there. How dare you challenge me? See, this is the sickness, right? If we don't start standing up and saying, actually, you're a public servant, buddy. It's not for you to start pulling me over whatever you like, right? And letting them understand what the true nature of why any individual is allowed to carry a weapon and the serious responsibility that comes with that. If you're going to carry a weapon and then you're going to now use that weapon to violently dominate people, that is a crime. And until the majority of people start waking up to that, this is going to keep happening. That's the point of why I'm putting these videos up. It's about waking up your consciousness to understand reality the way it actually functions, not the mental construct that's been thrown over you and you've accepted. It's about having the courage to face it for how it is. So now I'm going to move to the next video. I'm just going to make sure I stop at 2 and move it to about half. I think it's about here.
Cops become cops. Once upon a time, and maybe still every once in a while, cops join up thinking they're going to be the good guys. But as far as I can tell, more often than not, cops join the gang called law enforcement for the same reason people join other gangs. Because they're cowards who feel weak and they want to feel power over other people, so they join a gang that has guns that gang up on people and threaten them and harass them.
Like I said, if it was the correct setup of the constable in their true capacity as a peace officer, someone whose highest priority is to make sure the peace is kept, this would not be a gang thing. It would be a position of honor, which actually takes a lot of self-discipline. So you'd be getting an entirely different breed of people who would be interested in moving into this space, right? And because that's never existed for I don't know how long, right? What kind of breed of people are you getting? You're getting seriously damaged people who seek power because they truly feel powerless, right? And the only way to make up for it is to insist on it. And you just heard that guy just give you evidence of what it actually looks like in real time, right? Because there's someone who deeply is like, how do I put it, is so broken on the inside and there's so much self-loathing for their lack of value that the only way they can try and make themselves feel better is to impose their will on someone else and get off on the groveling. And that's what he was setting up, because he's got the imbalance of power. He's got the weapons. He's got the cavalry that'll show up and do exactly the same thing he's doing, just even more extreme. So no one's going to pull over and let someone else dominate them unless there's some serious consequence coming to them. And we all know that. Yet, because the majority of people accept, well, there's no other way to go about getting safe if I ever need these crims, right? Then you just keep going as it is. And this is the problem, right? Is if we don't acknowledge it for what it is, we're going to keep giving our energy to it. Okay, let's move on.
It's not courteous to threaten someone with violence and forcibly detain them. Second, the original excuse is bullshit. He didn't signal in a right turn lane with no one around, which is not even against the stupid law. So the lame-ass excuse this piggy had for instigating this is already illegal. This is an unlawful detainment. Now keep listening.
No, I mean, no, that's all right. I was just asking out of friendliness. I wasn't trying to be a dick or nothing. Yeah.
What's your date of birth? I don't know you, dude. What's your date of birth? Is that so hard?
What a condescending Nazi piece of shit. Was that so hard? Now, the driver here is, whether to be polite or to keep from getting killed by a douchebag on a power trip, is being pretty dang calm and nice. But I'm not going to be. This badge-wearing asshole is randomly terrorizing people for no good reason. And if his victims show the slightest hint that they're not thrilled about it, then like the power-happy jackass that so many cops are, this guy wants to punish him for it. You will bow and kiss the ring, and you will be happy about it, peasant.
Yeah, kind of. It's a little, it's kind of, Well,
Got that? This pig is literally going to rob this guy for his attitude. A perfectly justifiable attitude, by the way.
Remove your license, registration, and insurance. Nobody can. I mean, you just can't. We're out here doing our job, and you just can't be cool with that. You have to have an attitude. Why?
You parasitic asshole. First of all, it was a bogus stop to begin with. Second of all, why the hell should anyone be cool with being threatened with violence by a professional thug of the state when the person had done absolutely nothing wrong, not even anything illegal? Gee, why would anyone have a bad attitude when dealing with these insecurity complex control freak bastards?
Here's my driver's license. I have to reach into my glove box to get the rest of the information you're requiring, officer.
So you see that level of compliance? No one would comply unless there was an imbalance of power. It's really important to understand that. I'm going to say it over and over again. Imbalance of power is the only reason why anyone would comply and be obedient, if they fear a worse consequence for not. And the entire structure that we live under, which is a hierarchy domination slavery system, is all about the use of violent force for not complying. Now, our correct structure was all about a system of public servants. You cannot be in service of someone if you are dominating them. The two things are incoherent. They are not congruent. They are in contradiction to one another, right? And it's about understanding that principle. And if you can't understand principle, you cannot find your way to the truth. And this is why this has to keep coming out over and over again, and it needs to be seen and repeated over and over until the principle is understood and you can stand on your own 2 feet and you don't need to be coached into it anymore. You can figure it out for yourself. But until that point, this needs to keep coming out so people can see it for how it is, regardless of whether you want to agree with it or not. It's not arguable. And that's the sad reality for all the people that accept lies, is they will do a bunch of mental gymnastics to create truth out of a lie, because you can't do it any other way. You need to totally contort the whole fabric of reality. And all that does is it creates more misery, suffering, and anguish. So we're going to move on.
Ask yourself, how many times have you seen cops bravely riding in to save the day? If it's once, you're really rare. How many times have you seen them with somebody pulled over by the side of the road writing them a ticket? You've all seen that. You've all seen the violent extortion they do. And the fact that they don't have to follow through on the threat of violence because most people comply doesn't mean it wasn't a threat of violence. It's like if a carjacker points a gun at you and says, give me your car keys, and you hand them over, how would you respond to somebody who said, well, he wasn't violent? He just asked for your car keys. And because you handed them over, you didn't make him shoot you, so that's not violence. Yes, it is. A threat of violence counts as violence in the general way that I'm using the term. Of course that's violence. Of course carjacking somebody, give me your keys, that's violence, even if you never touch them, even if you never shoot them, because by threatening to shoot them, you made them give me your keys. That's a violent criminal act. And that's what cops do on a daily basis. That's 99% of their job, is finding excuses to steal money from people. And we've all seen that on the highways, especially state troopers. What they do is drive around looking for excuses to steal money from people.
Now, you've just been shown the evidence of that, right? So it's not like it's been made up. And pretty sure there isn't one individual that I can think of that's never had it either happen to them or witnessed it happen. So you have empirical evidence of what's being said here as being verifiable truths. Now, how many times, if you think about it, have you actually seen these constables, they're supposed to be constables, the percentage of times you've seen them actually robbing people on the side of the road versus to actually doing something that's in the service of people's rights? Very rare. Mostly they'll be doing the opposite and violating them. So we're nearly done, guys. Just a few more.
It is very telling that many modern law enforcers quickly become angry, even violent, when an average citizen simply speaks to the officer as an equal, instead of assuming the tone and demeanor of a subjugated underling. Again, this reaction is precisely the same and has the same cause as the reaction a slave master would have to an uppity slave speaking to him as an equal. There are plenty of examples depicted in numerous police abuse videos on the internet of supposed representatives of authority going into a rage and resorting to open violence simply because someone they approached spoke to them as one adult would speak to another.
That's critical, guys, because this is the mental illness, right? It takes two to participate in that mental illness. It takes the dominator, and it also takes the one who's the victim. And unless we, as the ones who are being victimized, start changing our way of understanding it, we will keep this going. And that's your personal responsibility, whether you like it or not. You come endowed with that just by the sheer fact that you're here and you have a conscience and you have access to moral faculties. Now, if you refuse those things, then you are making sure that you are the instigator of your own misery and suffering, as well as perpetuating other people's. So this is where your true responsibility lies. Like I said, it's not about whether you agree or not. It's about what actually happens in reality when you avoid the truth and you deny it through the stories and the cover stories that your ego accepts and attaches to.
Instead of speaking as a subject would speak to a master. The state mercenaries refer to this lack of groveling as someone having an attitude.
Now, did you hear earlier in that piece? I know it was very soft. He actually said something to that effect. Why are you giving me attitude? Right? So it's right there in your face, guys.
In their eyes, someone treating them as mere mortals, as if they are on the same level as everyone else, amounts to showing disrespect for their alleged authority. Similarly, anyone who does not consent to be detained, questioned, or searched by officers of the law is automatically perceived by the state mercenaries as some sort of troublemaker who has something to hide.
And remember when he first pulled him up, he said, I thought you were trying to avoid me. So there it was right there, right? They go around the assumption that if you don't, you know what I mean? In their own minds, this is the sickness that gets created. If you don't do exactly as I think in that moment, which other people can't read your mind, right? They're justified to do whatever they like to you. That's the sickness we're dealing with here. And if we don't take a stand and do something about it, it's going to keep happening because sick people rarely heal themselves. Very rarely. Especially when they're held up in high esteem. That doesn't ever happen.
Again, the real reason such lack of cooperation annoys authoritarian enforcers is because it amounts to people treating them as mere humans instead of treating them as superior beings, which is what they imagine themselves to be.
That's the problem, guys, is by every single individual who keeps their silence, you are promoting that belief that these individuals are superior, and all acts of violence come from ideas of superior and inferior. Now, the reason why I go on about 1215 Magna Carta, because that's all about an agreement where everyone is equal under the law. No matter what your stature or title, you are equal under the law. Therefore, you are prosecuted the same as everybody else as soon as you violate someone else's individual rights. And if that doesn't matter to you, and you think that there's some other way to live, then carry on, going as you are. However, if you really understand that concept, and that's something you would like to have in reality, then it requires you to stand up and do something about it. So now I'm about to show you a campaign that was self-organized, that was decentralized, it was all voluntary, and it's still in play at the moment. And if that's something that you yourself would like to be a part of, then there's a place where you can go and find out more. So I'm about to play you that now.
And that supports the dignity and free expression of all people. We believe in human rights.
I think so.
So there you have it, guys. It's on the Magna Carta 1215 website. Call to action, police letter campaign. So it's about each individual police station across the country being informed of the correct nature of what a constable is and the responsibility where they are meant to be in service to the people. That means they are afraid of the people, not terrorizing the people, and you're informing them of the true nature, and they cannot rebut it. Just a little bit of a side, since this campaign started, it started somewhere in mid-August to memory, there's been 3 media reports just here in Victoria where they've gone out of the way, the police have, to prove just how good they are and how much of a need they are for community, right? They never do that. So it just shows you how much power this really has when people back it. And I'm telling you, it's not even a big number of people who have done it. There's like somewhere between 20 or 30 people, to my knowledge, that have self-organised, paid for it themselves, not required anyone else. There's been a few donations through friends and people who know each other that couldn't contribute time and energy, that have given like stamps or envelopes or some other form of resources to it. But by and large, there's about 20 or 30 active people that have covered the entire country, even people who aren't in the same state, and they've organised themselves. It's been an amazing thing. And this is what we're truly capable of, right? Because we are self-organising by nature. So this is about, can you step into that space, and do you care enough to be part of something big that is going to start tearing the shreds off the footings of this criminal monolith, right? And once those footings come down, it collapses under its own weight. It just depends on how much you as an individual care about standing for truth. And so you can have that life that you say you want, where you are free to decide what's best for you without any fear of anyone else dominating you.